Okay, guys. So, our previous episode or video, we were talking about objects. I mean, arrays. And right now, we're going to talk about objects. So, this is what this lesson's about. Um, yeah, this is what we were talking about. And now we're going to talk about objects. Um, you know what? Yeah, let's do Yoda. Okay, this is how you define an object. Pretty cool. So the array, we defined it with these parentheses, and then our objects we define with this bracket. And then within, we can have different things like real name, and then kind of want to keep this persistent here. So and I'll do double. And this is pretty much how you define a value inside an array. And once you're working with databases, this is how you're gonna want to define your values. Well, your indicator for the values. So real name is Yoda. Oh, I'd probably put nickname because Grogu's baby Yoda. Or we should and the cool thing is that you can also add in different things like different values like booleans. You can also add booleans in these things, and it'll be arrays and it'll be fine. But predominantly, it will make more sense here. For example, can use force. Yes. And you want to separate these with commas as well. So, and both of these can use force. Another one, I'll do fin. And nickname fin, we'll do trader. Okay, cool. So keep in mind, we're going to add to everything that we're learning. So a lot of these lessons are going to be compounding. So if you do get lost, go ahead and backtrack, and then we'll kind of just cover all of our bases here. All right, cool. So we defined a very basic object here. So what we can do here is we can console log one of our objects. And how do you expect we're going to see one of the objects in our console log? So let's go do Yoda first. Oops. Isn't push? Oh, yeah, it's not working. That and objects. So essentially, it gave us back the array, and we can narrow down if we just want the nickname. So we'll do Yoda, and it's not a number here, unlike array. So we're using the actual value description here. So what it's called, it's a property. There we go. Cool. And what the way you reference it is actually called a method. So if you go to W3 schools, you'll see why. So if you recall last time we were talking about arrays and how arrays had built-in methods to do a lot of cool stuff. So these are actually methods here. It's not a function. So I guess you can't call it as a function, but they're essentially methods. Why did I do that? But if I were to define a function within it, it will actually work. And I'll kind of show you guys. So Yoda, and can Yoda use a force? Yes, he can. So it's pretty useful to call these because essentially you know what you're using, and instead of going 1 through 4, you can kind of just, guess, okay. Objects don't have a for, at least not that I know of. A method? Yeah. Yeah, they don't have a method. You kind of define the methods. In other languages, this is known as a class. But you can actually call them as classes, and I'm kind of debating on whether to call them a class because it's there are actual classes in JavaScript too with the introduction of um TypeScript and ES the latest JavaScript packages. So let's not get into it. Let's just focus on the objects here. And cool thing here is I can do special. What can I do? And then if I do this, and what's it called again? Okay. Grogu. Grogu doesn't say anything, right? I know it's cringy, but this is how we're gonna do this. So I can actually call in special, the method special here, and it'll return our value. So cool thing is also within the method, you can within the object you can return these methods. So essentially that's how the whole arrays methods work, and we just created our own value and then we have our methods. So the reason why we would do this in a pattern way in the design pattern is because we have for example characters and they have special abilities, and we can trigger the special abilities like this. So we can actually put an X here, and then if we were to type in X, I wonder what to do here. We're just gonna kind of place. You know what? I'm not even gonna do anything like that. So if I go to fins, and this is nothing special. I'm just gonna type in no here, and just gonna add no. So it works like a function. We can also pass in our values in here, our arguments in here too. So pretty much that's how objects work. And the cool thing about it is that if I create a blank list, so I'll do var, and then I'll do list, and I'll do a blank array, and then I go down here, and what am I gonna do here? All these guys are very similar, right? They would almost make sense if they were all in a list, right? And you're right, it would make sense. So this is another design pattern, is that we use list to, instead of list, I do characters. SW characters, and I'm just gonna call it like this, wchar. Not the Guild Wars char, but what we'll do is we'll pop, and then we'll pop Yoda. So if I pop Yoda, and if I console log my SW char, what will I get? Just Just huh, weird. Didn't pop Yoda in there for some reason. Let's do this. Maybe it only takes one value. Okay. Oh, it's not pop, it's push. I was like, am I going crazy? There we go. So the cool thing is you can store these, and if I do swchar dot push, forgot that pop removes the first one. I mean the last one. And then I can add Grogu as well because they're in the same species. Cool. So you can see that special is a function. They won't really give us the details of how it works. It just gives us that, hey, this is a function. So this is a method that you can call. Can use force, yes. So cool. We have all these, and ignore the formatting. These are all the same things. But now we're gonna look into a little bit more into general best practice. You see this? We kind of called push twice, and we don't want to do this. So, what we can do here. What we can do here is either we type them all in here. And we have our list of characters. Oh, I did. Okay. So we have our list of characters. And then we can kind of go down the list. So we're not going to type in Yoda because this is an array that we're trying to get to. So we're going to type in 0 to get to Yoda. And then we'll get to Yoda. And then let's say we really want to know what is their nicknames for these guys. So then we'll do the nickname. So we're calling in for the first value of this array, and then within the array we have a nickname. So that's what we're calling in, since within your object, sorry, we have a nickname that we're trying to call back. So Yoda. Okay. So essentially what we would do is we'll do this, and then we'll go down the list, right, of people if we want to get all their nicknames. Baby Yoda, and then the other one is a traitor. Cool. But this is not very dry. So what dry means is that we want to repeat as little code as possible. So if we had a long list of all the Star Wars characters, Chewbacca, Kylo Ren, Han Solo, Mando, etc., it would be very long and be redundant. It wouldn't be very efficient. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a for each. And I know this is probably a little bit more continuation into arrays as well, but let's not. So the way we'll do it is a SW char, and then we'll do a for each, and element, and then nickname. And then essentially this is how we're going to get all the nicknames. And remember, if I just leave it out here, nothing's going to happen. So I need to put it in the console log here. Ah! Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to do a for each loop. And I'll go over for each loops in our whole logic section of that we're going to type in next. We're going to learn next, sorry. So what it's going to do, it's going to go for each value of the array, we're going to select the element within it. So it's going to be these individual ones. And since we have a very consistent setup where all of these guys are nicknames, it's going to return all the nicknames for all of our values. So if we go back here, and then it returns undefined. I don't know why nickname for W. Yeah. Let me save it. Maybe it's a save thing. Okay. All right. So let me stop here. So Yoda, oops, Yoda should have a nickname, right? And then we'll do nickname. And if we do it, it works. Okay. So somewhere along the line, our for each is returning an undefined value. Okay. So what I am going to do is I'm going to change this into function. Then we'll do e. And then I'll do console. Oops. Console.log e. And I can do this. So essentially, so this is a value that I'm calling in. So essentially, this is going to work without it being in the console log, because essentially we're calling a console log each time we have a value here. So this is pretty good troubleshooting. Console logs are always great for troubleshooting. Okay, cool. So I guess within the console log, it didn't like printing everything out in one thing. So I understand why. So I think console log was expecting a specific value, but every time you do a for each, it's gonna try to repeat that. So essentially, I think the for each should be inside the thing. So I actually don't have to type it in this way. This is just another fancy way to do it. So I think I should have done it like this, and I apologize for showing you guys the wrong way. I think it's okay. Okay, parentheses. So it's essentially, I think it should have been like this. Okay, cool. Oh, Finn cannot use the force. Why did you guys let me do that? It's just shorter if I do it this way, by the way. This is why I did it. Okay. So, cool thing about the whole objects thing is that, as you can see, I can call in all these objects, and since they're an array, I can get this information pretty easily from these objects. And if I wanted all of them to do the function, which essentially that's not the way I would have wanted to do by design, because it's you don't want to call functions through a for each. As this gets too complicated, but this is a very good way to get information. You could also do functions if you wanted, but that's pretty much the main way that you would use objects. Of course, there are so many other things like classes and whatnot that you kind of get into later, but this is a really good example of how we would use it. And I know that for right now, it doesn't really make much sense until you start working with databases where you really get into that whole JSON format and just start pushing information out and in. But yeah, our next one, we're gonna talk more about I guess logic, because I think we have the basic building blocks to start building a lot of cool stuff. So our next lessons are going to be predominantly focused on building. So there goes the whole objects thing. I hope that you guys learn something new here. And if you're confused about anything, feel free to hit up the comments and check out W3 Schools, because they have a really good explanation of this, so you can start working on it. Alrighty, guys. I will talk to you guys later. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so we can start working on more stuff. All right. See you guys later.